Welcome everyone to Coaching in Session. My name is Michael Rearden and I will be your mindset coach today. And today we're going to be talking about the power of immersion. If you remember what happened last week on Monday's episode, we talked about critical thinking, asking questions that are going to evoke a deeper thought, not to just stay on the surface level, but to get down deeper into the meat of it. A great example of how we stay on the surface level is when you greet somebody. Hey, how are you doing? Oh, I'm doing well. Thanks for asking. That's just surface. Hey, I noticed you are looking a little bit down today. What's going on? That right there is getting into the meat of it. When we critical think and when we can look at someone for not just how they are or to give a blanket statement, we are going to allow ourselves to think in a different way. And from there, not saying that you have to, right? You don't have to care about other people's lives, but when you do that, you're going to find that you're able to read people better. And when you can read people better, then you can understand yourself even more. Because sometimes people get into this habit of, I don't know my why, I don't know my purpose, is because you don't even know how to understand and ask yourself deep questions. There's no critical thinking there. So critical thinking has so many aspects to our growth and things like that. And it's important that you understand that before you understand what we're going to be talking about today, the power of immersion, because we do have to fall into an uncomfortable position when it comes to immersion sometimes. You're not going to be confident. You're not going to be willing most of the time, but you're going to give yourself no other choice. So critical thinking is maybe asking the questions, but immersion is going through with the flow, going with the movement, and you might not have time to ask questions. So if you missed last week's episode on how to create critical thinking, you're going to want to watch that, because when you compare that with the power of immersion, you're going to find that you can do great things. So today we're going to be talking about my most recent blog, The Power of Immersion for True Learning Potential and Growth. So let's take a look at that blog right now. All right, everyone. So if you're new to the channel, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, to share the video and your audio to help build a community of like-minded individuals. And what we're going to be talking about today is the power of immersion and understanding how immersion can help us learn better, reach our potential, and grow into the people we want to be. We all have goals in our life, some big, some small. We have dreams in our life, some scary, some not. And we do have to understand the difference between all of them. Because if you have small dreams, it doesn't mean that you are not a dreamer. If you have big dreams that are grandiose, and whenever you tell someone, they say, you're crazy, you can never reach that. Do you believe it? Or do you say, you know what, I think I can? Or do you change it because you want to, again, have dreams that people are going to say, oh yeah, that's a nice dream. For example, when someone's younger and you say, hey, what do you want to be when you grow up? They say, I want to be a lawyer or a doctor. Oh, okay, cool. But if you say you want to walk on the moon, oh, you can't do that. No, that's impossible. So we do have to understand when it comes to ourselves and others, there can be limits placed there. And the reason why critical thinking and immersion is tied together is because there's an aspect of limiting beliefs that connects the two. It's almost like a thread or a fiber that is connecting the two. And we do have to understand that, because if we don't understand it, we're going to find ourselves on one spectrum. Oh, great, we're critical thinkers. But when we have to fall into immersion, we're going to find ourselves in a very difficult spot, because we don't want to do what is difficult and what is new, because now we don't have the ability to critical think or to ask questions. So immersion is used for many different things. And I talk about immersion in language. I talk about immersion in health. I talk about immersion in most common areas of our life. So relationships and stuff like that. All things we work with here at Reven Concepts. This one is a short read. It's not a long read. So I do want you to read it, because to fall into immersion is just to understand immersion. You don't have to read a whole book. You don't have to read a whole tune-up series. Immersion is very simple. So simple, I can say it in one sentence. Immersion is a deep mental involvement that requires the person to focus exclusively on one task or goal until the desired result is reached. That is it. You might have multiple aspects to it. So you have multiple avenues and things that you have to reach, but it is that simple. You have to involve yourself deeply in a deep mental involvement. Oh, sounds like critical thinking, but it's not. When you start to put yourself into something, you are mentally invested. For example, if you grab your phone and you're on your phone and you're scrolling through, you are mentally invested in that time on your phone. Because if someone says, hey, John, or something like that, and they're like, hey, did you watch a game? And you're just in your phone laughing. You say, wait, what'd you say? Because you're mentally invested in your phone, not into the people around you, into the conversations that's happening to you, at you, whatever. We do have to understand that. So there's an aspect to immersion that is not critical thinking. So we fall into something that can be very monotonous, that we lose focus in, but it also gives us a blank slate that is just almost a nothingness, right? We're just in a box of nothingness. Men love this box. I will say that. That's why men can play video games all the time. That's why men can go fishing. And it might seem like the boringest thing ever. Women want to be watching series and they want to be going out with friends and talking on the phone and texting all these people and doing all of these things at once. Because for them, that's enjoyable. Men probably be stressed out beyond belief because it's all this meaningless stuff going on. Now, to them, it's not meaningless, right? But for men, it's just like, we just want to chill. We just want to be at peace. We just want to be calm. But we don't have the focus. That's not necessarily a good immersion. If you fall into immersion, I'm just going to give some examples, then we're going to get into the conversation. If you fall into an immersion playing a video game, is that a good type of immersion? It can be, but most often it's not. It's not going to be beneficial for you. Some people are streamers. Yes, it's beneficial for you. But for most people, it can be a waste of time. However, John Lennon said, if you enjoyed something and you wasted the time on it, then it's not wasted time. Something along those lines. This blog right here is going to be talking about immersion. It's going to be talking about putting skin in the game. And it's going to be talking about how you can be curious more so if you are in a state of immersion rather than if you are just in a state of, I might do it, I can do it, or I don't want to do it. If you ever heard the word immersion before, you might have heard it with a language. Language is maybe the go-to term when it comes to immersion. For example, here in America or in any English-speaking country or a country that's going to be speaking English predominantly, you're going to go to school and you're probably going to speak English as a primary language. But if you don't know English, for example, maybe you know Spanish, you are going to go into the school as an ESL learner, English as a second language. From there, you're going to maybe have supplemental classes with other teachers. There, you're going to learn the language. But sometimes schools do not have the resources. Sometimes schools don't even know that you don't necessarily know English really well, or you don't know any English at all. A teacher might have an understanding. And I mean, I have seen ESL learners in schools, and sometimes the teacher will be like, he doesn't speak any English. I don't know what to do. They're not ESL teachers. They're kindergarten teachers, first grade teachers, second grade teachers, etc. So an ESL learner is going to predominantly sit in class and absorb everything. They are in full immersion mode. Because when you think about it, when you're a baby, you learn the language that is being spoken around you. And how long does it take for you to really speak, like make your full sentences? About 2 years, 2.5 years. And I'm not saying that it can't happen sooner, but typically about 2.5 years. Now from there, you're going to put the language that you have learned together and you're going to say, oh, I learned this language, and everything is going to be coming together. You can respond. You understand the language. But for them, for these ESL learners who are now in a classroom of people who only speak English, are in full immersion mode. So that means they have to learn from the environment. They have to learn from listening to people, how people act, how people dress. Immersion. So what happens at that point is eventually they learn the language. And it's extremely effective because the brain actually does a shift. If you don't go in immersion, your brain is like, we don't have to do it. Do you ever wonder why so many people here in America, especially very privileged and entitled, don't learn a second language? Because their brain is just not switching on to that second language yet. Not saying that learning a language is easy. Typically, after you learn your second language, the third language is even easier because your brain is already acclimated to it. So we do have to understand that there's a process to immersion, but we do have to fall into that state of immersion. That means we have to put ourselves in an environment where we are uncomfortable. If you know anything about the mind and the brain and everything, we do not like to be uncomfortable. That's why people don't go to the gym. That's why people won't go on the treadmill. Or if they're on the treadmill, they'll start running and they'll stop because they're uncomfortable. So immersion is you're going to be in this hot pot and you're not getting out until you're done. So being done is you're going to learn that language. So these ESL learners are actually learning languages that way. But immersion is not only about learning languages. You can apply immersion to many aspects. For example, college. For me, college was a sense of or a state of immersion. I'm going into an environment and I'm going to be here for the next 4-5 years. And I'm going to say, I'm going to learn this major. I'm going to learn this. And that's what I did. If I did it by myself and I say, you know what? I'm not going to go to college and I'm just going to spend the next 5 years maybe doing something. It's not going to work out in the way that I would like it to work out. Yes, I can have mentors and coaches and I might be in a different place, but I wouldn't have been in that focused place of you go to college, you get your hours in Monday through Thursday, that's college. And we learn from it and we grow from it. And that is the process. We fall in a state of immersion. Now, for me, also, another aspect of immersion is called skin in the game. If you're a kid and you're that kindergartner, first grader, second grader in school, and you're trying to learn English as a second language and you don't know English, skin in the game is going to be, I need to learn English because I'm not going back to a Spanish speaking country. Now, you might not say this out loud, or they might not say this out loud or internally, whatever, but it's a worry. This is a concern. They automatically think about it. Also, you have that peer acceptance factor of, I want to relate to these people around me. How can I relate to them? The best way to relate to them is to learn the language. Skin in the game is going to be, I'm going to invest in learning this language. So there's multiple aspects, right? Full immersion. We just put ourselves in an environment. The second aspect is going to be we're giving ourselves skin in the game. And the last sense of immersion is going to be that it pushes us out of our comfort zone. So we fall into this place of we want to learn. Then we say that we have to learn because we have the skin in the game now. So it's like if you just bought a business, for example, and you spend $1 million on this business, you're going to say, I'm going to make this business successful because you just spent all this money on this business. So you have skin in the game. So we do have to understand that. And then the last aspect, again, is you just fall out of your comfort zone, right? So you go into your growth zone. And that's where this whole blog is. We talk about growth. We talk about the potential within you. I'm sure you probably heard about coaches, and I even talk about it on my motivational series of Motivation and Motion, how to reach higher potential, how to be successful, how to get the growth that you're looking for in your life. And it all stems from getting out of your comfort zone. But how do you do that? Some people, they have to dive deep. Some people have to go head first. Some people can only have plan A. Some people have to burn the ships. Depending on what type of person you are, you do need to understand what type of person you are. For me, I'm a person who has multiple plans. Now, just because I have multiple plans, it doesn't mean that I say, well, plan A didn't work, let me go to plan B. Plan A is still plan A. I continually do pivots, and plan B is there to sustain plan A maybe. Most coaches do this actually. When they first begin, even in 2018, this is what I did. When I was starting the business, you're not going to just make all your money as soon as you start the business. You have to build, you have to develop, you have to create the systems. And then from there, then you can get a steady flow of income, create cash flow, and then you can choose, do you have to do anything different? You have to make some changes. So you make your money, you could buy real estate, things like that. It's a great cash flow. Get enough money That's going to be your basic necessity or your bare minimum of what you need per month. And then right there, you're coasting. And from there is growth. So there's a lot to immersion, more so than, okay, I'm going to put myself in an environment and I'm going to burn the ships. I'm going to invest in something and I'm going to get out of my comfort zone. It requires so much mental fortitude because, especially in business, if you start a business, the best way to think is to understand that your business is going to be successful, right? Be positive, be optimistic. But then say, if my business is not making a profit for 5, 10 years, whatever it is, I'm still going to keep on going. But I'm not going to be foolish and just keep on throwing money into a business that's never going to make money. All right. Never is only an option. So if you fail your first year, it would behoove you to say, why did I fail? Critical think. To now seek someone who has succeeded. What did they do? Not saying that you have to replicate it, but you do need to understand what they did. So you immerse yourself in their lifestyle, what they went through, their business. Immerse yourself in that. You might even find that they have a training program, skin in the game. You go to their training program, you get some knowledge, skin in the game now. Now you're thinking in your head, I just invested in someone else's program so I can grow my program, skin in the game. And then your comfort zone was always out of your comfort zone. But then now you can say the comfort zone that you have created, because you will have created a comfort zone. If you start a business, you will find a spot where you're like, okay, I enjoy this. You always have to be challenging yourself to get out of that comfort zone. If you find yourself stuck, that's when you need a coach. That's when you need a mentor. That's when you need someone who's going to say, hey, get up, get out. Because you're going to find that you need that push. You need that sense of drowning almost before you can take action. Immerse yourself in it. That's why I love going to the gym, because I can work out at home. I can get a home gym here and I can make a nice home gym and have all the equipment and I can have more things in the gym. But the problem with me having a setup in the house is that I cannot fall in immersion. Yes, I can go in the room, but to be honest, I know me quite well. It's just my house. So the gym is not my house. Yes, I have an office in the house, but then I also have an office out of the house because sometimes I'm like, listen, I can't do stuff in the office at the home. I need to go to the office out and about, especially if you have kids and they're like yelling and they're screaming and they're trying to knock on your door and they're trying to, get a hold of you. If they find out that you're home, it can be like a whole total mess. So that's why I have two, right? So I have a home office and I have a separate office. I can choose, but the gym is totally different. I can't fall in immersion if I am home at the gym. Yes, I can work out and things like that, but the office is just right around the corner. And I'm like, man, I got to do some work. I got to do some catching up. But when I drive to the gym, and that's like the key, I drive to the gym and I say, well, I'm here. I got no choice now. We learn from that. We fall into immersion from that. We surround ourselves with people who have fitness on their mind. So immersion is that. Who do you surround yourself with? And a sense of immersion can be if you want to be in a certain industry or field, how can you immerse yourself into the people that are already established in that field? What do you have to do? What seminars or workshops do you have to attend? And that can be immersion. This blog right here, The Power of Immersion, True Learning Potential and Growth, is going to be the guide for you to understand, well, what is immersion, and then how you can dive deep into your mental state so you can begin to focus more closely on the goals, the dreams, the ambitions, everything that you have forth in your mind. And it's important that you understand that you have to take action. You have to take action today. You just can't simply say, I'll do it later. Immersion is not that. Immersion is there is no other choice. We do have to get that mindset, because if we get that mindset, we're going to be more likely to do the things and to find success sooner rather than later. That's the key. To find success sooner rather than later. For people who have been trying to learn a language, have been trying to work out, have been trying to diet, have been trying to be successful, they have just not immersed themselves correctly. I'm sure they're asking critical thinking questions from last week. They're like, well, why am I not successful? Why am I failing? Why is all of this happening to me? What can I be doing different? Great critical thinking questions. But the issue is you have not fallen into a sense of immersion yet. And you might think that you are there. But when you are there, your brain actually operates different. Studies have shown that if you are in a sense of immersion or a state of immersion where you have no other choice, and I'm not just talking about you just think you have no other choice. I'm saying like you literally have no other choice. That right there is going to help your brain learn quicker, right? Something happens in the brain where it just learns better because of that immersion. So we can make some great choices. We can learn through immersion. We can learn from failing. We can learn from and through immersion. We can learn through growing. We can learn through failures. But we do have to immerse ourselves in a positive and easy way, because all of the ways I've been saying have been things that people are going to try, but then they're going to find that they're not successful. And the aspect of skin in the game is going to be the reason why. It's because time sometimes is not your most valuable thing. Some people value money more than time. So if you are a wealthy individual and you have everything in the world, you probably don't care about money. You could probably make money just snapping your fingers or calling someone, making a deal. You can make money. That's not the hard part. Time for them is the hard part. How can I get more time? So they delegate, they leverage, all of that, right? They want to be immersed in only a certain amount of things. Recently, probably a couple months ago now, I believe Rihanna, CEO of her makeup company, she says, I'm no longer going to be the CEO of Fenty. Elon Musk, 5 months ago now, he says, well, I don't want to be CEO of Twitter anymore. I have a new CEO, Linda Mack or something. That right there is them saying right there, I don't want to immerse myself any longer in this business. My goal is to have more businesses, to grow from there, and to give my work to other people who are competent, who can do a good job. I don't have to do everything. So even in my business here, I understand that if I'm doing something and I'm immersing myself in this, there's other things that I can't do because I'm in this sense of immersion. I'm just in this. I'm just in this. Nothing wrong with that. You have to ask yourself, do you enjoy what you want to be immersed in? Do you enjoy what you're doing? And if the answer is no, then you're probably not going to invest. You're not going to put skin in the game. You're not going to think more than what you are right now. You're just going to be miserable. So to get out of that state of misery, to get out of that sense of you are the victim, you do have to probably get a coach. You probably have to get a mentor to guide someone along the way. Because when you get into that program and when you get onto their wavelength, you're going to find that you are learning so much and your brain is going to be different. It's just going to operate different. I remember when I was student teaching, I was in immersion for 14 weeks with these teachers. I was learning every single day. Every single day. I was challenged every single day. Every single day. Some days were challenging. Some days were kind of a walk in the park. But overall, I learned more than I did in my 4 to 5 years in college. It's crazy. 14 weeks of just working one-on-one with a teacher or with teachers. That right there was beneficial. Imagine what 3 months of working with a coach can do. That is what it is. 12 weeks. 12 weeks of your life for a better life. Immersion, or the power of immersion, has so many benefits. There's a power to it that many people don't understand. And if you can learn how to harness it, if you can learn how to use it in the way that is going to feel comfortable to you, but then at the same time it's going to challenge you, you're going to find that you're going to be leaps and bounds ahead of everyone around you and where you are today. So mark your calendar today. Give yourself a goal and say, I'm going to not only simply critically think and ask the right questions, but I'm going to give myself a sense of immersion, a state of immersion, whether that be your health and your fitness, your relationship, your career, or your mindset. All of that can happen with immersion. And if you need help with that, head over to revenconcepts.com, get yourself some coaching, because who you can be should happen sooner rather than later. My name is Michael Rearden. I'm a mindset coach. If you have any questions, you can email me coachinginsession@gmail.com, and I'll see everyone on the next episode of Coaching in Session. Until then, everyone take care.